Hi guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Bose Wilkins PX7. Now these are over-the-ears noise cancelling headphones. They can be found for £350 in the UK or $350 if you're in the US. If you live elsewhere, there's the locally link down below that will take you to your localized Amazon store. Now in the description below you'll also find a list of different suggestions and headphones that I'll be mentioning throughout this review. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So first off, I want to cover what you actually get in the box. It's pretty simple. You've got the headphones, the carrying case, and cables. Now the cables are an auxiliary 3.5 to 3.5mm jack, and you've also got a USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. It's worth bearing in mind that you can plug these headphones in, be it via auxiliary jack, or you can also connect them via your computer via a USB. Obviously you just make sure that your computer does pick them up. Now the case itself, as you'll be able to see, is very stylish. It looks very nice. It's a hard shell carrying case, and it fits in the headphones pretty easily. Now the thing it's worth bearing in mind, these headphones don't fold inwards. They do fold flat, as you can see here, and they do get stored there, but it's worth bearing in mind that if you are someone who likes folding headphones inwards, so for example the Sony headphones are able to do that, then you might want to consider other options. Now the headphones themselves look quite stylish. They are a little bit bulky, and I'll show you how they look like on my head in a little bit. They do look a little bit bulky. In comparison to something like the Bose 700s, you can see they don't look as stylish or as sleek looking as these headphones. These headphones will sit out just a little bit more. Also due to their hinge design, in terms of how it's designed over here, it also does sit a little bit differently. In terms of right and left indicator, as you can see, it's pretty obvious. It's within the ear cups, which is quite nice and quite easy to pick out as soon as you pick them up. But it's also going to be, once you get them, or if you get them, you'll get used to the actual hinge design and you'll know which one is left and right without having to look inside. Now the headphones have got a decent amount of adjustment. However, there's no sort of clicky nature. It's kind of like on memory, which personally, having reviewed over 300 different audio related devices, personally these things do come loose after a while, so I do wonder how these will hold up for some people after 2 to 3 years of solid usage. Obviously I get them for review and on loan, and they have to go back to Bose Wilkins, so I can't really comment on that. Now aside the actual design of the headband, it's also worth bearing in mind the actual clamp force, and something that a lot of people on the internet just seem to completely forget. So for someone like myself who either sits at a computer or is commuting, it's worth bearing in mind that clamp force is extremely important, be it in terms of passive noise isolation or in terms of overall comfort. I did find these PX7s to have pretty strong clamp force, and it's something that I found to be a problem with some other of its competitors. So for example, in comparison to the Bose 700s over here, these ones sit a lot more loosely. Not as loose as the QC35 Series 2s, however, they're just looser, whereas these are a lot tighter, at which point when I'm wearing glasses and I was using them at my desk for around 30 minutes to 45 minutes, it became uncomfortable, to the point where that might be a complete deal breaker for you guys, because on one hand you do have a tighter seal and therefore you can go running with these headphones, but on the other hand it means that if you do like using your headphones for longer periods of time and you've got either a medium or larger sized head, then you will find these uncomfortable to wear for longer periods of time. And it's so important, clamp force, but I just can't understand why people don't talk about it. But anyway, that's not my issue. I will mention in terms of the comfort of the headphones that they're very cushiony. The headphones themselves have decent padding around the ear pads, and I've got a nice little soft headband at the top as well, which can be quite easily cleaned. It's worth bearing in mind that the oval shape over here might not fit bigger ears. I just fit in here, so I've got pretty big ears, but it's just worth bearing in mind that again, when compared to some of its competitors which have slightly larger oval shapes, they will fit slightly better for people who have larger ears. Anyway, worth bearing that in mind, just something and a kind of observation that I had. Now in terms of operating the headphones, it's pretty simple. On the right hand cup you've got a variety of different controls: play, pause, previous and next, and also the on and off switch, which is pretty self-explanatory with Bluetooth, and I'll get into that in just a bit. ANC control are on the left hand side. all very easy and very intuitive, and they respond really well. And you can enable and disable the voice command. So in other words, when it tells you ANC on, ANC off, you can disable that through the app, which I'll show you in just a second. It's also worth bearing in mind these headphones have wear detect. In other words, when you put them on, they will automatically resume, and if you take them off, they will pause. You can again tailor that through the app, but it's worth bearing in mind that the actual sensors, or should I say the pressure sensors, do work really well, and I must say it worked flawlessly in my case, and resumed and paused music flawlessly. I had no issues whatsoever with that feature. Now, as for the app, it's pretty basic, but you got the controls that you're going to need. So for example, you got noise cancelling, which you can go from low, auto, or high. If you disable that, you've also got ambient pass-through, which you can adjust as well, which is great to see. So yes, it does have ambient pass-through for those people wondering. In terms of connections, it can show the connections that you got. You can have multiple connections, which is worth bearing in mind for people who have a multitude of different devices, and I found it to be pretty good. Sound Spaces just gives you a little audio demo of some certain place and make you try and meditate as such. And then through here you can also adjust the name of it. You can see over here the wear sensor that I was mentioning before, and also you can adjust the standby timer, so if you want it to automatically switch off if you haven't used it for a while, and you can also do an update of your software straight through here, in other words a firmware of the headphones, and also you can see the remaining battery percentage of the headphones, which is, well, right now 79%. So as promised, I just want to show you how they actually look like on the head. So you can see like this straight ahead, and from the sides like so, and so you can see they do stick out a little bit. Now if I compare that to the Bose headphones, I think you will probably agree that these look a little bit more stylish. Of course the collar might not suit you, that depends completely entirely up to you, it's subjective, but in terms of the overall size of the headphones, these headphones are just slightly bulkier. So now I'd like to talk about connectivity. Now these are Bluetooth headphones. As I mentioned before, you can have an audio pass-through via a wire, be it from the USB cable or the actual 3.5mm jack. But in terms of connectivity, you've got Bluetooth aptX adaptive, which is great because you've got a basically scalable sound quality which will come from the Qualcomm chip within your phone. If you don't have the aptX codec, this has SBC and AAC, so for example iPhone users will still get pretty good sound quality. It's great to see a variety of different codecs supported, and I had no issues using the aptX codec with my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. So it's worth bearing in mind that Bose and Wilkins have really paid attention to codecs, and furthermore, and what will really interest people other than the actual audio quality you get from aptX adaptive, is the fact that there's no audio or a video delay or lag, shall I say, when it comes to watching videos. So it's pretty seamless if you're going to be on iPhone using AAC, or on Androids, be it SBC or using the Qualcomm chip. Now speaking about connectivity, it's also worth bearing in mind the battery. Now these have an outstanding 30 hours of playback time, which is pretty impressive given its competitors. They also have a USB Type-C, which enables fast charging, so therefore if you really run out of battery and you want to give them a quick little charge, you'll be able to do so as well. And now we move on to the more interesting part, is the recording and sound quality. First off, recording. By recording I mean the microphone quality, so if you're going to be taking calls. I must say with the Bose and Wilkins I was pretty disappointed. In comparison to the Bose headphones or the Sony headphones, these are far less superior in terms of recording capabilities. Purely because, not only due to the raw sound quality you get over the phone, or if you're going to be taking, I don't know, a Skype call or something, but also due to the way that they cancel out noise around you. So environmental noise really came through a lot with the PX7s, more than most flagship ANC headphones I've come across, to the point I would say they're probably the worst sounding noise cancelling headphones when it comes to taking calls. And for people who are aware, there is quite a bit of a benchmark, and the Bose set the standard for in terms of microphone quality when it comes to taking on calls. And now we move on to sound quality. Now Bose Wilkins is known for producing good sound quality products, and I was very impressed initially with the sound quality that the PX7s delivered. However, as I went on through different tests, I was pretty disappointed to find that the mid-range was pretty dipped. So let's go through the whole sound frequency for you. First of all, the bass. Present, very nice pronounced, and very controlled. In other words, you've got a really nice sub-bass extension, you've got a really nice mid-bass reproduction, which is tight and controlled and isn't overpowering, but yet gives you a nice sort of healthy punch. In comparison to the Bose, they were a lot better. The Bose sound a little bit flat, they sound a little bit dead in the bass department, whereas the Bowers & Wilkins really delivered. In comparison to some of the best sounding noise cancelling headphones I've come across, such as the Sennheiser Momentum 3s or the PSB speaker ones, they again compete very well, to the point I would say that their sub and mid-bass response is among the best out there. However, the mid-range was really severely affected. I don't know why, but due to the sound signature, it was just way too warm. Now, I do like a warm sounding headphone. I listen to a lot of R&B and dance music, and it's somewhat suited for me. However, that doesn't mean that the mid-range should be really pushed back. In comparison to the Bose, in comparison to the Sony headphones, which are quite V-shaped sounding headphones, and especially in comparison to the Sennheiser Momentums, which completely trounced these headphones in the mid-range department, the Bowers & Wilkins just sounded a little bit too warm and dipped. And of course you can EQ it if you so wish, but then you're going to come into some sort of complications where you're artificially boosting the mid-range and therefore don't get quite good sound signature. The highs were pretty sibilant. They're going to be harsh to some people's ears, and I haven't got overly sensitive ears, and most of the time I have no issues with listening to headphones, but when I started cranking out these headphones, I did find these to be a little bit too sensitive on my ears, at which point I just couldn't enjoy my music as much as I wanted to. In comparison to the Sonys, in comparison to the Bose, in comparison to the Momentums, they were very capable in reproducing a really nice high-end extension, but didn't sound sibilant or didn't sound too piercing on the ears. These, on the other hand, just sounded a little bit too bright, at least to my ears. Now, the one thing I would say, however, other than the bass, is the fact that the soundstage is absolutely incredible. In terms of instrument separation, in terms of overall the width and the depth that you get with the Bowers & Wilkins headphones, it's far superior over any other ANC headphones. And yes, that also includes the Sennheiser Momentum 3s, which are very impressive noise cancelling headphones in terms of their sound quality, not their noise cancelling capabilities. But the Bowers & Wilkins really delivered a fantastic wide sound signature, and it just sounded like sounds were coming from all over the place and were just really well positioned. So overall, in terms of sound quality, they're very much up there. They're better than the Bose, they're better than the Sony. However, they're not quite as good as the Sennheiser Momentums, which provide a far better overall rounded sound signature. Of course, if you do love bass and you somewhat like really sibilant highs, then these headphones will be great. However, if you want an overall better sounding noise cancelling headphone, then the Sennheiser Momentums would be a better pick. Now, we are talking about noise cancelling headphones over here, so what about the noise cancelling capabilities of these headphones? And here, very much like the Sennheiser headphones, they kind of fell short. By fell short, I mean in comparison to the Bose and Sony headphones, which to me are the class-leading headphones in this category. Those headphones are able to cancel out mid-range and high tones extremely well. Now, low-end hums that you hear on a plane are relatively easy to cancel out on most headphones. It just comes when it comes to the mid-range and the highs, where there's a little bit of clever technology that has to come into place. And here, the Sony specifically completely is by far much better at cancelling out sounds over the Bowers & Wilkins. Then in comparison to the Bose, which are number 2 in my noise cancelling priority list, I would say, again, the Bose completely trounced them. The Nuraphone as well, which have got the in-ear kind of bit, got fantastic passive and active noise cancellation, again come out on top against the Bowers & Wilkins. However, against the Sennheisers, they're pretty much equivalent. The Sennheisers weren't incredible in terms of noise cancellation, and neither are the Bowers & Wilkins, which somewhat leads me on to my conclusion. Very much like Sennheiser's headphones have been designed with audiophiles in mind, rather than people who really do like commuting and therefore would be looking at noise cancelling headphones. I got a lot of flame on my Sennheiser headphone review because people were like, well, yeah, these are the best sounding noise cancelling headphones. But fundamentally, noise cancellation is why you're buying these headphones. You're not buying them because they are Bluetooth aptX enabled headphones. You're buying them because they're noise cancelling headphones, but so happen to be Bluetooth headphones as well. And in this case, it's very much the case that these headphones are sound orientated, they're more sound quality orientated rather than producing good noise cancellation. Don't get me wrong, they've got decent noise cancellation, but in comparison to some of its competitors, I just wouldn't pick it. Now, in comparison to the Sennheiser, which you would say these are pitted kind of against each other, currently the Sennheisers are a lot cheaper than the Bowers & Wilkins. they have better mid-range, they're more comfortable because they don't have such a strong clamp force, and yes, the Sennheisers do have some issues when it comes to design and how they switch on and switch off, for example, but fundamentally, if I was looking for the best sound quality from a noise cancellation headphone, I would choose the Sennheiser Momentum, or even the PSB speakers, or even the Nuraphone headphones. If I want the best noise cancellation headphones, I would choose the Bose, the Sony's, or the Nuraphone headphones. So that's pretty much my conclusion. I think Bose and Wilkins have done a decent job, but it's not a headphone that I would see myself actively recommending. Hopefully you enjoyed this really in-depth and honest, unbiased review. As always, if you've liked this video, make sure you give it a like. Subscribe if you want to see more. Check out the description below for alternative suggestions. As I mentioned, loads of different headphones in this review. So there we go, guys. I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye-bye.